Breguet is definitely listening. Collectors have been asking for a smaller Type 20 with no date, clean proportions, and of course the design language that made the original so beloved. And instead of reinventing the wheel, Breguet looked to their own archives and realized they already had the answer. A gold case chronograph from 1955 that got almost everything right. Now they brought it back. This is the Type 20 Chronograph 2075. It's not just a vintage-inspired piece, it's a careful return to form. 38.3 millimeters in diameter, pared down, beautifully balanced, and full of small decisions that show Breguet is paying attention to enthusiasts. Beyond the 38mm sized case, one of the big changes is the lack of date. Additionally, like other Type 20 models, the lugs are slim and sculpted, the case is gold just like the original, and the flyback chronograph layout is clean and focused. In this review, I'm going to look at how the new 2075 compares to the watch that inspired it. I'll break down the case, the dial, the movement, and the story behind it. And towards the end, I'll spend some time on the limited edition silver dial version as well. But most importantly, I'm going to talk about why this release matters for collectors, for the Type 20 lineage, and for Breguet itself. To really appreciate what Breguet did here, you need to understand what made the original Type 20s so compelling. The story goes back to the 1950s when the French Air Force issued a tender for pilot chronographs. These watches had to be tough, legible, and functional. Breguet delivered, supplying the Air Force with the Type 20 2.0 and later producing civilian variants under the Type 20 XX name. In 1955, Breguet released a rare gold case civilian chronograph, the reference 1780. It was elegant and compact, measuring just over 38 millimeters. It had no date, 2 registers, and proportions that made it extremely wearable. Fast forward to recent decades, and the Type 20 has modernized a bit. Modern versions came in at 42 millimeters or more. They had automatic movements and had date windows wedged between 4 and 5 o'clock. The DNA was definitely still there, but it had become a more modern watch. The 2075 changes all of that. At 38.3 millimeters in diameter and 13.2 millimeters thick, this case just hits the mark. The size is not just a nod to the original, it transforms how the watch wears. It sits lower, hugs the wrist, and feels a little bit more balanced than its modern predecessors. The case is crafted entirely from what Breguet calls Breguet gold, an alloy that mixes gold with silver, copper, and palladium. The result is a warmer tone than standard yellow gold, almost giving it a slight rose gold hue. Sometimes I feel that yellow gold can look a little bit dated, but Breguet has managed to avoid that with their Breguet gold color. The finishing is subtle but thoughtful. The caseband is satin brushed while the lugs and bezel edges have polished highlights. The bezel is bidirectional with a knurled edge for grip. It has a 12-hour scale which allows you to track a second time zone without it being a true GMT. On this black dial model, the bezel scale is filled in black. The crown is oversized and signed with a sharp B for Breguet, and the pushers are fairly simple but well proportioned. Then there's the dial. This isn't your standard matte black surface. It's made from anodized aluminum, an intentional choice that ties directly to Breguet's aviation legacy. Louis Breguet, a pioneer in aviation and a descendant of the brand's founder, was one of the first to use aluminum alloys in aircraft production. The AI mark, printed discreetly between 7 and 8 o'clock, acknowledges that connection. The anodization isn't just for storytelling. It creates a deep, almost inky black tone with a slight sheen and offers excellent resistance to corrosion and wear. The printing is also crisp. The Arabic numerals and minute track are done in beige superluminova, which glows green in low light. It's legible, functional, and extremely well proportioned. The layout keeps things clean with just 2 registers, a 15-minute big eye counter at 3 o'clock, and a small seconds at 9. There's no 6 o'clock subdial, and more importantly, no date window. Removing the date changes everything. It lets the dial breathe, brings back some symmetry, though the subdials are differently sized, and shifts the focus to the beautiful dial. The hands are made from Breguet gold and filled with the same beige lume. And the chronograph's second hand follows suit with a luminous tip. Even with plenty of lume, the watch feels refined. Inside the watch is the hand-wound caliber 7279. It's based on the high-frequency 728 caliber Breguet introduced in 2023, but with the automatic winding stripped out. It beats at 5 Hz or 36,600 vibrations per hour, which means you get a very smooth sweep and more precise chronograph timing. The power reserve comes in at a full 60 hours. The movement includes a flyback function, which is something I always like to see in a chronograph. That means that with a single push of the pusher at 4 o'clock, the chronograph resets and restarts immediately, which is ideal for pilots or really just anyone timing back-to-back events. Flip the watch over and you'll find one of the most striking casebacks Breguet has ever done. Underneath the display caseback, the bridge is engraved with a tribute to the 1930 transatlantic flight made by Costas and Bellante in a Breguet 19 aircraft. It was the first nonstop flight from Paris to New York. The engraving includes the plane, New York and Paris, and the route taken. It's fairly subtle, but incredibly well done. The strap is a black calfskin, lightly padded, and very comfortable on the wrist. It connects to an 18-karat gold pin buckle and can be swapped thanks to the integrated quick release system. I'm not sure what the need is for a quick release on the buckle, but it is a pretty cool feature, and perhaps Breguet will offer a deployment option in the future. Of course, the strap also has a quick release function to make switching out straps very easy. Now, let me talk about the Silver Dial Limited Edition, because Breguet didn't just do a color swap here. This version leans more into the dressier side of the brand's identity. It's limited to 250 pieces and connects more closely to Breguet's elegant non-pilot offerings with a vertically brushed solid silver dial, applied gold numerals and markers, and a layout that feels more refined and formal compared to the black dial version. Instead of the 15-minute counter, it features a 30-minute register at 3 o'clock. The chronograph and small seconds hands are in blued steel, which contrasts beautifully with the silver dial. It also adds a tachometer scale around the perimeter, giving it a bit more functionality while still maintaining a clean design. There's a distinct shift in personality between the two models. The black dial feels a little more sporty, maybe a little more versatile. The silver dial is brighter, more traditional, and can easily shift between a pilot's tool watch and a dress watch. It's priced slightly higher at 38,000 Swiss francs versus 36,500 Swiss francs for the black dial, but with only 250 pieces made and individually numbered, that makes sense. Both versions come in red leather presentation boxes modeled after the cases Breguet used in the mid-20th century. It's a small touch, but one that reinforces the sense that this isn't just a new model, it's an historical continuation. Each box is actually numbered on the outside with a serial number of the watch, which is also just a very nice touch. I also wanted to note that the silver model also features the same engraving on the caseback as the black, and the movement is the caliber 7278, a slightly different movement from the 7279 on the black dial due to the 30-minute register. So what does this all mean? It means that Breguet is paying attention, but they did so in a way only a brand with 250 years of heritage could do. With the Type 20 2075, Breguet was able to give collectors everything they've been asking for in the Type 20 while still paying tribute to the watch's heritage. Breguet went back to the archive, chose a reference that already had everything collectors want, and built a modern version that hits all the marks. They didn't add a date, they didn't upsize it, they didn't overdesign the caseback. They just made a great chronograph in an almost exact image of one of their own best. That kind of decision-making shows confidence, it shows restraint, and it shows that Breguet still knows how to make a chronograph that speaks to both history and horology. If you've always liked the idea of the Type 20 but have been waiting for something a little smaller, this might be the one for you. Let me know in the comments, would you go for the black dial or the silver limited edition? And more importantly, do you think Breguet should keep exploring their archives like this? Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'll see you in the next one.